like watching trash television because there's a point where it's so bad it becomes funny to take the piss out of, and I enjoy delusional rants for exactly the same reason, and nowhere provides better and more consistent delusional rants than The Gamer. They've really nailed down this nice little mix of ignorance and condescension, which makes them have the most glorious of disastrous articles. That's how you end up with this. What do the Star Wars fans actually want? I mean, we've given you Reva. What more could you possibly ask for? This addresses all of the complaints that Star Wars fans have had about previous characters. The original title was after the Obi-Wan Kenobi bad backlash. What do Star Wars fans actually want? Fans have spoken out against Reva, and if they don't like Reva, how can they even like Star Wars? And that original title is still the title on the tab, so they clearly seem to have edited it. Yeah, maybe get a couple of paragraphs down before you start calling all Star Wars fans scum, eh? That's an idea. But they start off with the strangest of arguments, where they say that Star Wars sequel trilogy suffered by an identity crisis because each new installment seems to be trying to make up for the sins of its predecessor. Yeah, I suppose we can't just say it's trash because the people who made it have literally zero talent, so we're gonna have to come up with some awkward reason why. Like The Force Awakens premieres and it's labelled a New Hope clone. Personally, I just labelled it incredibly boring. So they make a huge departure from the originals, and that's just an insult to fans. And then they say that The Rise of Skywalker was an awkward 2.5-hour retcon and apology tour. Quite frankly, I think the only apology anyone wanted after The Rise of Skywalker is a refund for them having paid to watch the thing. Towards the end, neither side of the divide was happy with the trilogy. It is interesting how The Gamer have also divided the Star Wars fanbase into an us versus them scenario. Something that the Star Wars account themselves have done very, very recently, doubling down on the fact that Star Wars isn't for the fans anymore. Star Wars is for them to push one idea, and you can either get on their side or you're an enemy. And it's interesting, below there's a tweet that says you're not the Resistance, you're the Empire, and someone says nope, they're not. But I'm pretty sure that the multi-billion-dollar corporation with 5.9 million followers is definitely the big, all-controlling, all-dominant empire when compared to an individual, one of which they crapped on when he had like 12 followers. But The Gamer carry on, even assuming that the majority opinion is that Rian Johnson's take on the series sucked. And it's weird they have to assume that given the massive amount of evidence that it's true. I don't even think this crowd knows what it wants anymore. That's right, if this gamer journalist doesn't actually understand what people are saying, then clearly that's because they don't know what they want. It's not because the gamer journalist can't actually understand what people are saying. This is really the ultimate. It's not me, it's definitely you. It knows what it doesn't want, and that's about it. That's largely because they want Star Wars, whereas Disney is coming along and putting a load of external things into Star Wars because they want to push a certain message. So saying we don't want all of the stuff that you're adding in because it's ruining Star Wars is a perfectly reasonable argument. It's so weird to me that people can go, I like this movie and I don't like this movie, and then the gamer can come along and go, you just don't know what you want, and when you're actually pointing at something that you enjoyed that you thought was good. And that is where we immediately turn to blaming the fans, and a large part of this crowd has quickly become one of the worst, most abusive fandoms out there. One of the absolute worst. I mean, seriously, you've probably never played League of Legends, have you? Oh no, the people have spoken, and they've told the gamer journalist that they don't like this movie, and that means that no fandom on Earth could possibly be worse than someone that thinks that Reva might be badly written. First, they were mad that Finn was a stormtrooper. They tried to justify their bad things by saying that clone troopers all had to be the same, but that didn't work because Finn clearly wasn't a clone trooper. I don't know if you realize what they've just done there. They just pointed out a problem, gave a very legitimate reason, which came from a misunderstanding about why they had the original problem, but still tried to claim that all of this came from some kind of group of bigots or something, because even though we know why you did it, we're still going to try and project our own opinions onto it. Oh, the gamer, the group of people who, even when we know why a problem happened, we're still going to try and manufacture a fake crisis out of it if we think it helps our argument. Then we're going to lie about other actors being driven off social media, even though Kelly Marie Tran herself said she left because we're being constantly bombarded with stimulus all the time, and I don't think we're conscious of all the ways in it affects us. And so for that reason, she thought her most important thing was to leave to protect herself. But obviously, when the truth doesn't fit your narrative, what you've got to do is just say it's something else. It's not like anyone's going to check or know. People have really short memories. No one's going to realize these things, are they? No. And even if we say that people liked another character, which directly disproves our entire argument, we're just going to say that one doesn't count. Yes, the gamer always staying classy. But the gamer, always in touch with what a fanbase wants, thinks that the answer to what do Star Wars fans actually want turns out to be The Rise of Skywalker. Yes, you heard that one correctly. Because in The Rise of Skywalker, this crowd got exactly what they've been asking for. Rey being related to another main character. Seriously, I'm not one to ask for sources, but I can't remember anyone asking for Rey to be related to a main character. Was anyone sitting there in the first two going, this entire story could be fixed if only Rey was a Palpatine? Palpatine somehow returning, because, yeah, that is something that everyone was asking for. If only this villain that was perfectly wrapped up and completely ended in a very permanent way could just come back for absolutely no reason whatsoever, we could fix the Disney trilogy. Chewie getting a medal, call me crazy, but I think we're really scraping the bottom of the barrel here, and it still wasn't enough. Hey, I mean, if Chewie gets a medal and you're still not satisfied with Star Wars, what else could you possibly want? I mean, you're really pushing a boat out after that stage. Chewie got a medal, guys. And in their defense, yeah, it sucked. So why are we complaining then? You agree with us. That's why I love the Gamer articles, because it starts off insane, and then a few paragraphs down, you start to wonder if you're off your face, because they start disagreeing with their own arguments, and that's when their arguments are already an ever-expanding spiral of possibilities. It's literally a case of no one's ever satisfied with the sequels. Oh yeah, the sequels sucked. But I have to say, if you think that addressing every nitpick that someone has is fixed by giving Chewie a medal and making Rey related to another character, then I don't think we have the same standards of quality, to be honest. Even the fans that don't use slurs, you know, virtually all of them, seem to spend a lot of time defending those who do. You're gonna need to source that one as well, I'm afraid. Consistently, the fan base has been more outraged with actors disavowing people than the people themselves. No, what they were angry at is the fact that Star Wars came out and just accused the entire Star Wars fan base of it. And quite frankly, I don't know why I should be held responsible, or looked down upon, or spoken about in that way, just because there's someone that you've managed to dredge up out of the millions of people that talk about Star Wars. Individual problems should be sorted out on an individual basis, not insulting entire fan bases just as a way to protect and shield your own terrible TV show, which is exactly what happened to Obi-Wan Kenobi. It was a created narrative before the show had even launched because they wanted to use Reva as a shield. If anything, it should have been incredibly insulting to the actress that plays Reva that she was used in that way. And like I said in the videos I've done, Reva isn't even really in my top list of problems with the show. There's far bigger issues. But they knew that, which is why they made such a big deal out of it. Because that then would set the story. That's what people would be talking about. That's what sites like The Gamer could use to defend the show, rather than having to actually defend all of the very, very legitimate and massive issues with it. Because then it allows The Gamer to get their rocks off by saying it's an indictment of just how disgusting this fan base can be. Well, quite frankly, I think that Star Wars and Disney are the disgusting ones for doing that to the actress in the first place. I think it's incredibly dehumanizing of Disney to reduce Moses Ingram to one chemical in her body just so they can attack fans and attempt to put critics on the back foot. Because what we've got are a handful of bad actors and bad complaints, and this is an indictment of how disgusting the entire fandom can be. And then The Gamer wonders why the fandom comes out and going, why are you tarring me with a brush just because some lunatic came out and did a bad thing, and yet you're coming out and attacking everybody. Individual actions should have individual consequences, and yet for some reason we just love insulting entire fandoms. You know, the people we want to watch our show and give us money. But The Gamer, never one to make an intelligent point, says that one tweet encapsulates this. The people who believe the narrative that Star Wars fans are all bad people seem to be forgetting the fact that there have been lots of beloved characters and actors in the franchise for decades with no issues at all, and then attaches a load of images of people which are supposedly disliked by the fanbase who weren't. Then they say, ignoring the fact that this argument is just, I have people as friends, and I don't know, The Gamer, are we just going to ignore the fact that that is a legitimate argument? I don't know if you've quite realised this in your entire life on this planet, but if somebody hates somebody, they don't have them as friends. And just because you've given the argument a nice little title and put it in quotes, doesn't make it any less correct. It's like the whole, oh, it's whataboutism. Yes, whataboutism is pointing out hypocrisy, which is a reasonable point to make. I don't really know why people think that they can just disregard an entire argument because they've given it a name. In fact, it goes on to say that the fans have no idea what a good character would be by their standards, and then goes out to say that Mace Windu is brilliant, and the fans agree. But don't worry, because even though Mace Windu's brilliant, he just doesn't have a big enough part and it says the original trilogy, but, you know, we'll let him off that. He may be brilliant, but if he doesn't have an arbitrary amount of screen time, we can just completely disregard him from all arguments. This is a typical tactic that people do. When you come forward with a good argument based on facts and reason and logic, oh, it doesn't meet my arbitrary standard of minutes or anything else that we're just going to make up on the fly, and then disregard the entire point. Oh, you see, he only spent 12 minutes in the series rather than my required 14, so he doesn't count. And then once we've taken all of your arguments and disregarded all of them for absolutely no reason whatsoever, suddenly we're going to say you didn't have any proof at all. The main stars of the 3 films are all cream. So what? I don't really know what your point is there, you bigot. The same can be said for Lando in both his iterations. Once again, somebody comes forth with a character that disproves their entire thesis, but don't worry, we're just not going to count Lando for some reason. And we've already been over the fact that Boyega was bombarded with terrible things as soon as his role was announced. Yeah, I completely agree. Disney did treat him like filth, didn't they? When they removed him from the poster for a certain foreign nation. It's almost like your bile is pointed in the wrong direction when you're targeting fans rather than the company that makes the films. So what makes a good character? And I think we've all agreed. Mace Windu was a great character. I don't know why you're suddenly playing ignorant now, apart from the fact that that's a state of being that you seem to spend your entire life in. Going by this argument, they either have to have very little screen time, or wait long enough for another actor to be the focus of their abuse instead. Yeah, instead, the gamer is simply going to create a fantasy person, attribute that fantasy person's reasons for liking something onto them, and then say that those reasons aren't good enough, and how can you possibly like it? I don't know what they're talking about. The person's just a made-up fantasy in their own head and has no basis on what the fandom has actually said about Star Wars or Mace Windu in the least. I don't know what happens with the gamer articles, but the further you read down them, the less brain cells you feel like you've got on the other side. A few more articles like this I could probably write for them. For the sake of argument, let's look at the justifications from fans who aren't bringing up Ingram's biological chemistry. Which, let's face it, is basically all of them. One minute she can read minds, the next minute she knows Anakin is Vader, she constantly breaks the rules like a child and isn't reprimanded. They've taken the leader of the Inquisitors and made him into some robotic, non-imploding bad guy. And what you have here is the problem with a tweet, being limited characters. Largely for people with limited attention spans. One of the issues with Twitter is if you can fit all of your thoughts into 280 characters, then you tend not to have any. And I think we can prove that by the fact that their rebuttal to his point actually takes up 624 characters. So, wouldn't have fitted in a tweet. The best thing is that they're going through a tweet when I've got 4 hours of review videos going through in great detail about why Obi-Wan Kenobi sucks. If you want to see those reviews, there's a link in the description below to the playlist. But don't worry, we're just going to say that 1 minute she can read minds is, yes, she can read minds. Force users have been known to do this. Yeah, but also, that wasn't their original point. When you say she can read minds, in the second episode, she could read minds easily. But in the first episode, she doesn't read any of the minds of the people which are there. What people are talking about is the contradiction, not the fact that she has the power. Then they talk about knowing Anakin is Vader, and they go, post episode 5, told you so. Yeah, but are you not going to talk about any of the massive gaping plot holes in both Anakin's story and Reva's story and the Grand Inquisitor's story, which were created by trying to explain that? Because I'm telling you, if you want to explain that, you're going to need an entirely separate article just to try and fill in the blanks. Breaks the rules like a child is an interesting way to say is frustrated that the job they're doing for their murderous boss, she's the murderous one, he's actually trying to restrain her from her own evil murderous instinct, who likes quick results by doing evil, is taking too long, and therefore disobeys orders to enact massive amounts of evil which their boss didn't want them to get things done faster, via inflicting massive pain and suffering onto everybody. I don't think anyone had an issue with her doing those actions. The stupid thing is how the Grand Inquisitor and Vader just let her get away with all of it. Even to one point where Vader is force choking her and then lets her go so he can congratulate her on how amazing she is. So after all of these flaccid arguments, what we end up with is, what do the fans even want at this point? I don't know. Maybe you could just say quality Star Wars that doesn't just have a random third-party ideology injected into it for absolutely no reason. There's an idea for a start. They say they're fine with female characters. They just want them flawed. But Reva is flawed. On that, we can both agree. She's also very strong, yes. How would you possibly explain this? Plot armor and magic just coincidental working out of everything, no matter how stupid it makes it seem. Well, we could always just try and explain it away by going, sometimes characters are just stronger than other characters. It happens. The writing just accidentally always makes the woman the main character in a bait and switch when it's an Obi-Wan Kenobi show. just happens. Other people note that she's a one-note, one-dimensional character and just hungry all the time, and Darth Vader is exactly the same. I mean, in that case, even if I did accept your argument, there's nothing in this entire argument that says Reva is a good character, so I don't know what you were doing with that one. Rey's overpowered because she can kind of beat Kylo in a fight. Rey was overpowered because she could magically do anything without being taught and was just instantly amazing. So you don't have to go back and start training in some scenes right at the very end after we just had 2 movies of her being amazing all the way through. Unless the fandom acknowledges the bad things it has perpetuated, so we're not just assuming that the bad things actually exist now. No, the fandom is doing it. Notice, it's not individuals, it's not separate people, it's not people who are responsible for their own actions. No, now, apparently, we're all a massive collective, and for some reason, I'm responsible for some random person's behavior that I don't know. It's almost like they're just making it up to crap on a group of people for absolutely no reason. I'm not responsible for what somebody else does. I'm sorry, but that's not how reality works. You can't guilt treat people in some kind of struggle session just because some random individual somewhere on the planet said something that you personally don't like. A dark tone, a gloomy Ewan McGregor. And if we're being honest, a male lead. Oh no, let me clutch my pearls. A man might have been a lead in a TV show. Say it isn't so. But let's face it, he isn't the lead. His name may be on the door, but he isn't the main character. But because Obi-Wan Kenobi is sharing the stage with somebody else, it's hated. That's largely because it's called Obi-Wan Kenobi and people wanted a show about Obi-Wan Kenobi, not some random person which nobody cares about. If you wanted Reva to be a main character in a Star Wars show, you should have made the Reva series. Not made Obi-Wan Kenobi and then suddenly made it the Reva series. Instead of looking at the product as a whole, I've got 4 hours of video looking at the product as a whole, we're hyper-focusing on 2-second clips that look kind of silly. I'll tell you one thing though, those 2 chase scenes and the trench coat scene go on for a lot longer than 2-second clips. It's clear we have no idea what we want from Star Wars anymore. No, you don't know what people want from Star Wars. Everybody else does. But they say, we want this, and you go, well, I don't accept that for this reason, this reason, this reason, this reason. And you try and deconstruct and arbitrarily disregard all of their points, and then go, see, you don't even have any points. I don't know what you want. Meanwhile, everyone else perfectly understands the point being made. At some point, if you're actually sitting there, and you don't understand what everyone else means, you have to begin to wonder if it's your fault. But I'll level with you. I think Kenobi is kind of mid too. I hate the word mid. You'd mean average, say average. But for me, I think it's total trash. It's well acted, no it isn't. It's well paced, no it isn't. And has some great scenes. Very, very occasionally, it might have some quite good scenes. But much like every product stuck in this time period, it feels uninspired. So why are you complaining about everyone else not liking it then? I have some things I'd like to see, but I don't have any story ideas to pitch Disney. It's not your job to. They're the ones making it, they're the ones funding it. It's their job to come up with the storylines. It's not my job to fix Star Wars. The people that make the product have the duty to make the good product. I don't know why this is a complicated idea. All they have to do is hire people with talent, rather than hiring people who agree with them on everything. But Kathleen Kennedy and Rian Johnson aren't bogeymen hell-bent on destroying your entire childhood. No, that's just a coincidental side effect of them being talentless ideologues. They are creatives working on movies and TV shows, which you might not like, but they're also human beings who do not deserve what you're throwing at them under the guise of criticism. But they do deserve criticism. People are allowed to critique anything. They are not immune to criticism, and criticism is what they're receiving. If you make a terrible product, people are going to come out and say it's a terrible product, and no amount of pearl clutching from the gamer is going to change that. You can try and attack them and label them with whatever words you think will work like magic spells and make all the nasty peasants go away so that you can actually just shovel your crap in peace on people. But the thing is, people are used to your tactics. They see through your transparent lies now, and you don't really have the wit to evolve. At this point in the comparison between the two of us, I think that the people who should be ashamed for their actions tend to be the ones writing the articles. But going into each Star Wars outing with a checklist of things to get your approval just guarantees that you're not going to like it. It is odd, isn't it, how the gamer is projecting other people as the ones who have checkboxes to like it. Oh, please tell me about your arbitrary checkboxes, or how long a character has to be on screen before you're actually allowed to count them as a character in a movie. I think you'll find the people with the checklist that needs ticking for a movie are the ones at Disney, not the fans. No one is forcing you to like what they're doing. I don't know, this entire article seems deliberately designed to shame people who don't like what they're doing. But as we see yet another figure suffer from the fandom, notice, not individuals, not separate actors who are responsible for their own actions, no, the fandom, the entire fandom. It's weird how we can actually attack the fandom, and then when people go, I don't like being attacked, if you weren't doing it, no one's talking about you. When you talk about the fandom, not individuals. Have a look at yourself. Do you actually know what you want from Star Wars? I'll tell you one thing, how about we take Kenobi and do the exact opposite and just go from there? Because if the last few years have proven anything, the biggest fans are all more confused and directionless than anyone at Disney. Well, I mean, if that's not projection, I don't know what is. Also, let's face it, if Obi-Wan Kenobi is the direction which Disney are deliberately choosing, oh, you better backpedal on that one fast. Disney are free to choose whatever direction they want, but maybe they should check that the direction they're going in isn't straight off a cliff, just like their stock price. And the gamer is the perfect mask-off example of what people were talking about Star Wars. When like, oh, well, if they're not talking about you, why are you getting so offended? It must be a guilty conscience. Meanwhile, the gamer just comes in and going, the entire fan base is doing this. Everyone is tarred by the same brush for the few individuals. How about no? The reason people don't like it when Star Wars comes out and attacks the fanbase is because everybody knows they mean everybody. Because otherwise, they wouldn't have mentioned it. If a few individuals are acting on an individual basis, then it should be solved individually. You don't come out and start attacking entire fan base just so you can have a comfortable shield to try and distract from your terrible TV show which you'll know you're out to put out. And yet that is exactly what they're doing. Moses Ingram should be incredibly offended, but she should be offended by Disney and the way they've treated her, the way they used that press. The people with the bad behavior here isn't the fans, it is the gamer, it is Disney. Disney and everyone else think that they can come out and humiliate people, shame people, try and shut them up so that hopefully no one actually criticizes Obi-Wan Kenobi for the absolute disaster which it is. And so to come out after all of the legitimate criticism, which has been said in detail by so many people, and be like, oh, I just don't know what you want. How on earth could I possibly know? I don't know. Maybe you could actually try and listen to it for once. I know it's strange that a company might actually want to listen to the fans saying what they want and what they don't like, but I do think if you actually want to make entertainment which entertains people, that's the idea that you should probably get back to. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you like the video, subscribe, more videos like this in the future, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.